Hey friends, thanks for being at the guitar class last night rather. Um, it's kind of tough with a lot of people in the room on varying levels. You probably noticed it was kind of difficult for me to try and figure out where we needed to go with that time. If the plan was appropriate for where everybody was, and we're all learning here. So I did want to, I thought that maybe it would be helpful since everybody's on a different level to make a couple of videos that went along with our class so that you could kind of go back and look at it. And, I can't be there to watch you and critique, what you're doing with your hands and such, but at least you can kind of have something else to chew on and come back to. But yeah, so we went through basically how to hold everything, guitar, pick, left hand, all that. We went through some nonsense scales. We went through strumming, basic strumming, and the G chords. So I'm going to make some videos on that. This first one will start with how you hold everything. So starting with the guitar, remember that we got the nut right here. That's what that little piece of bone or plastic is. Bridge is right here. And all of these little metal things are frets. That's the actual fret. Mostly when we talk about a guitar fret, we're talking about the space. Okay, so that'd be third fret, 1, 2, 3. And then, fifth fret, first fret, blah, 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 blah. Your guitar, usually the guitars have some kind of marking, sometimes on the fretboard, sometimes up top, sometimes both. Mine has little dots up here on the part you can't see, but I can see. So they usually have them on 3rd, 5th, 7th, 9th, and 12th. And then also, what would that be? 15th and 17th. But that just kind of helps you be able to visualize where everything's at. But anyway, starting with where to put the guitar, it all depends on what you're doing. If you're going to do a lot of finger picking, classical style, most of those guys will put it on there. If you're right-handed, they would put it on their left leg in their lap. And what this does is it gives your arm or your wrist a lot of ability to curl. And then you can have your fingers more perpendicular to the strings, which is ideal for finger picking, which is not what we're going to do a lot of, although we will do some. So most times when you're leading worship, you're going to be standing with a strap. So you should do that whenever you practice, as much as you can, ideally. But the best position when you're sitting to do that, a similar thing, is to have it on your right leg. And so your right elbow, if you're right-handed, needs to be in such a way where when you put your hand down, you want your hand, like your palm, this part of your hand, to be mostly parallel with the strings. You don't want it like this. You don't really want that like you're revving a motorcycle. You want to be able to twist. And so you want your hand to be more or less, this part of the hand to be parallel to the strings. And you want it to be over the sound hole. Ideally. There's different ways, different places to play. All of those have a different sound. And so, but you want to be able to be in a home base of right over the sound hole. That's where your habits want to be. So if you need to back up your arm or move it downwards, if you have longer arms, or forwards, it's kind of up to you. You can mess with how your strap, how tall up your guitar goes on your chest, depending on where you want your arms to be. And that's going to be different for everybody. So just kind of play around with it, but you want your hand to be parallel to the strings, not curled. You want to be like parallel. And you want to be able to be in a place on the strings where your average spot is right in the middle, because you're mostly going to be twisting. That's the best movements. Your left hand, the best way to use your left hand, we're not always going to do this, but especially for scales, is thumb right in the back of the neck, in the center of the back of the neck. Because when you're doing your frets, essentially, your left hand, you're essentially just pinching. So the Italian pinch is just like this, you know what I'm saying? So not like that. That's not a really good amount of pinch. Plus, the more you wrap and have your thumb over the top, which we will do some, it keeps your fingers from being able to curl over at the front of the neck and having lots of space, in this little curly area. So if you look, if I'm wrapping, I only have a little bit of room on my fingers. Whereas if I curl or put my thumb in the back, here we are, lots of space to move around and lots of power in the pinch. So that's where you want to be. Lastly, the pick. Oof, this is a big one. Let me pause. I can't turn around the camera. That sucks. So I can't see what I'm showing you. Okay. So what you want to do, everybody has a different way of doing this, and there's a best way. There's theoretically the best way, and then there's everybody else's way. There's your way. So I'm going to show you the ideal, and to be fair, I do this when I'm trying to play the best, when I'm trying to play the fastest or the most clean with my picking, flat picking, or with strumming. I'm doing it this way. So I do another way sometimes, and that's for a specific sound. And yeah, but that's for something else. So what you want to do, if you can, is if you have your hand kind of like flat, take your first finger and you curl it inward, and ideally that little bottom digit right there that my thumb is covering, that part of the end knuckle from the farthest knuckle downward, that should be kind of parallel, or yeah, parallel to the hand-ish, ideally, right? And then you're gonna put your thumb right on that digit. That's where you're gonna pinch, the pick, okay? So if I take my pick, I want it to be perpendicular with the thumb. So that shape is still the same. I just have to hold the camera in this way, which is unfortunate. But anyway, the pick is perpendicular to my thumb, as you can see. And you're gonna wanna play with things, whether you have little nub or big nub, that's kind of up to you. The bigger you go, the more pick you have out from your thumb, the less stiff it's gonna be. So that could be good for a really softer sound, but you're gonna struggle with the flat picking individual notes like scales, or different kinds of picking. Wow, this is a struggle. But anyway, I tend to kind of go like that. That's my go-to. But obviously you can see already that I'm not quite that close. I'm extending it down. I'm not exactly like that. I'm extending it down a little bit. But in general, the power of the pick is, the stiffness of the pick is going to come from your thumb pinching to that digit, that one right there. So anyway, that's how you hold the pick. And there's reasons for that we could go over, but we'll do that till later.